Hey guys, welcome back to Day-to-Day Chess. Earlier today I have shared a king pawn endgame video with the solution, the one that I had shown you yesterday, so hopefully you have solved it and are going to use the position, hopefully for some of your students, or if you were at a lower level, hopefully you're able to solve the position. It's a very cute king pawn endgame, and it kind of shows that material is not always as important. Sometimes we want to give it away in order to be able to win the game. So a really important idea to remember. And at the end of the video, I told you that later today you will be seeing a beautiful game of our current world chess champion, Magnus Carlsen. And I'm not going to disappoint. Here it is. I have chosen the game that he won in round 5 against Chao in the Qatar Masters. And what's so cool about this game, you're going to see. But what I want to tell you is that although he had maybe a rough start, he started with a draw against international master from Georgia, Nino Batsiashvili, a very strong woman chess player in the world. After that, he won 4 games in a row, this being his 4th one right before Christmas. And I'm really looking forward to sharing it with you guys. Some of you may have already seen it, so hopefully you will still check the video for maybe hopefully extra comments than the ones you might have seen previously. Unfortunately, I was unable to check the game live, so I during this break that I'm having from work, I was able to check everything. And this game just impressed me so much that I had to share it with you guys. So he started with his regular d4, knight f6, e4, g6, and we have technically, right now we can't really tell because we could have Benoni, we could have King's Indian, we could have Grunfeld, and Magnus has chosen f3, which is a move that I wasn't familiar with in this position, but now that I see it, I don't know. It feels like I might try it. Who knows? So what is he doing with this move? It's basically, I think, kind of against the Grunfeld. Yet Chao still played d5, because why is it so? You know, you're playing f3 with the idea to strengthen your center. So as soon as you're taking here and playing e4, knight b6, white's center is strengthened. Of course, the problem that white normally has against the Grunfeld is this d4 pawn, but this way the e4 pawn is nicely protected, so then white will be able to develop in such a way that this pawn would be protected too. Also, in general, white castles long, and this is exactly what Magnus did in this position, and then white is going to attack on the king side, so f3 is going to be a helping move because g4 is going to be a move that's already prepared by having played f3 instead of having the knight in f3. So something very important to remember if anybody is thinking to play this. Now, of course, you have to be prepared. When you're playing f3, you have to be prepared that black is going to play d6, and you most likely will have to play the Zemish. So you have to be prepared to play the King's Indian. This is called the Zemish system with the pawn in f3, for those of you who don't know. So definitely something to keep in mind for at some point, this f3 move. Okay, so Chao played d5. I mean, this has been played before. e4, knight b6. Of course, the knight goes on that side of the board, not back to f6 to close this bishop that's going to be developed in g7. Knight c3, bishop g7. And here we have to develop our pieces in such a way that we're protecting d4, as I mentioned to you earlier. And additionally, white has to be ready because black sometimes has the idea to play some c5, so white has to be ready against that. So bishop e3 was played, a very natural developing move. Chao castle, queen d2, finishing up the development. You know, what else can white do? You know, I mean, it's a very natural approach of the position. Knight c6. Now, black should not consider c5 in this position because it's going to be tough for black to actually capture their pawn back. And with a queen in d2, this knight is protected, so there won't be any double pawns there. Trading the queens, I can take with the king. Like I said, the pawn is protected. White is, you know, has a big advantage, if not a winning advantage in this position. So definitely knight c6 seems the normal approach for black, bringing an extra attack in d4 and try to make white push this pawn, push d5 or e5. Why? Because once white pushes one of these pawns, is giving away one of these two squares, and this is definitely something white does not want to do. And I mentioned this in other videos. When somebody, white or black, has the center, two pawns in the center, and the opponent doesn't have any, what you want to do is to make sure you're keeping your pawns on the same rank for a while until you're ready to push them forward and make sure you're actually going to do something and not just attack a knight in a move and then not be able to keep your center strong. So this is something very important for everybody to remember. We don't want to push a move like this because we're just allowing knight e5. This square is going to be a problem. Knight c4 is going to be a problem. c6 is going to be a problem. So no, this is a big no-no. Same goes for e5. I mean, we played f3 to strengthen our center, to have a really nice chain of pawns, and now we're playing e5 and leaving this d4 pawn backwards, giving away the d5 square. No, these are two big no-nos, remember, please. So Magnus went for long castle. And here we have a position with opposite side castling. And what should each person do when they are opposite side castling? Well, go very fast to attack the other person, because whoever gets first to the other king is most likely going to have big chances to win the game. And in this position, the Chinese grandmaster played f5. Which seems to be part of the theory. I was checking in this position what people are playing, and f5 seems to be a move that they are playing in this position. But I think e5 is also another nice possibility for black, because the idea would be we are trying to destroy a little bit the center. After d5, maybe knight d4, and then try to play c6 and open up the file to the king. Now, of course, white can play f4 to destroy the protector of this knight in d4, and then black would react with c5. And if white captures, then I believe bishop g4 would be a good possibility in this position. And black is going to get back that pawn in e5, and the position seems to be balanced, in my opinion. So this would personally be my reaction. That's all I can tell you, that e5 seems to be an interesting break in the center for black. But okay, Chao played f5. It's not that bad just yet. It basically has the same kind of idea as I'm telling you with e5, to force white to do something about the center, because after f5 I want to take here, open up my rook, I want to bring the bishop to g4, so white is kind of put in a situation where they have to do something, and e5 seems to be the way. But now, now e5 is not the same as previously. Now after black played f5, there won't be f6 opening up the center. Black kind of weakened this square e6, so it's not exactly the same situation as I was showing you earlier, when white would play themselves e5 and black would have this f6 breakthrough and the square. And so here e5 is a good move, and Chao went knight b4, going for the square. And not only that, starting a little bit the attack to white's king. Okay, it's time to finish up our development, right? That's what I'm always talking about. And the world champion is following the principles of chess. He's one of those top chess players who does this all the time, as far as I have seen his games. And here Chao played this queen e8, which seems to be a novelty. I personally don't like this move very much. I have seen most of the games in this position. In most of the games, black plays bishop e6 to try to bring some attack to white's king and this a2 spot. This seems to be the main continuation, but then also knight b4 to d5 has been played before. Unfortunately for black, after this move, black didn't really have good good score. White normally doesn't capture here, but plays knight f4 in this position because this knight needs to get into play, and then if you're trading and then trying to play c6 in this position, white goes for the trade of the bishop and then h4, h5, and starting the attack. And anytime you're going to move that knight, I have some bishop c4 coming. So white's position is really easy to play, whereas for black it's not that simple to open up the position because any c5 would allow d5, and with this bishop in h6, once the bishops get traded, d5 is going to be really strong, and black is going to struggle to open up the position to white's king. So that's why this move is not really played. But bishop e6 seemed to have had some, successes for black. I'm sorry, oops, what did I do? I had the game in my analysis till the end. Okay, so bishop e6 was played, and here white can go king b1 or a3, and a3 is what I have seen played mostly by white. Knight a2, trade, queen c2, queen d5. And if you're interested in checking out this line, Etienne Bagro played this with white, so you might want to check his game in this line, and it seems like white is quite safe, but the position should be about equal. I mean, both players. White is coming in f4 here, then trying to push the pawns, d5, e6, but it should be equal. But queen e8, I don't like it because it's not really a super developing move. Black wants to kind of have the same ideas with bishop e6 to bring the queen to f7, but really knight g5 can be a threat. I don't know, it just surprised me a little bit. And Magnus went king b1, just a nice prophylactic move, just to make sure this a2 pawn, which in the other lines was a problem, now the pawn is protected and white can think how to start the attack on the king side. a5, bishop e2. You see, he has not started to play knight f4, h4, h5, not yet. No bishop h6, nothing yet. He's not developed yet. Once he's finishing up the development, he will start. So bishop e2 first. Also at some point could have in mind to play some g4, c6. And well, this idea has been played before, but not in this position. But this idea with c6 has been played before. Black should really try to find a way to finish up their development. Maybe bishop e6 had to be played still, like a little bit later, but this is the white's problem in the position, so that is the point that has to be attacked. But after c6, Magnus went rook c1, a very interesting, another type of prophylactic move, just to make sure things are well protected and there won't be any kind of sacrifices going on in this position. But it doesn't seem to be anything, so maybe he didn't really need that move. Maybe he could have just made sure his king is safe, maybe king a1, and then knight f4 and start the push. But okay, he played rook c1, king h8, king a1, making all the moves that would keep his king safe. And now with the king in a1, like any captures in a2, I don't need to take back because it's not check anymore, so white will not have to worry about it. Bishop e6. Now that black played bishop e6, now white is coming knight f4 with tempo. Bishop g8 would be the natural response in this position, but I think white is ready to go h4. And even if black goes, let's say, queen f7, it's not going to be helpful because after h5, he will have a big problem with knight takes g6. With this bishop in g8, he actually made his king stuck in h8. So that would definitely not be a really great choice. Obviously, queen f7 that I showed you is a big mistake. Probably one of the knights to d5 should be the answer for black in this position, but we could possibly capture 2 times and now play h5 now that the knights were traded. there are no attacks on a2, so white can continue their attack, and white has a really, like after capturing, possibly this pawn is weak, these pawns are weak, I can double on the h file anytime and win your pawn. I can play f4, for example, in this position to get that pawn. So instead of bishop g8, Li Chao decided to make sure his king had this g8 square, so he played queen f7. And after queen f7, Magnus goes to attack. He does not care about the pawn in a2. Like I said, once the king is here, there are no big threats after capturing in a2. So Magnus went. And this game seems so simple. I mean, black didn't choose the best opening, but he shouldn't have lost. But you just see how simple the play is for white. And for black, you really need to try to find some kind of crazy moves to not allow. I mean, it's impossible to stop white from playing h5, and black really doesn't have any way to open up the queen side. Really, I mean, c5, d5 is right now. c5 doesn't even. I don't even do anything. Oops, sorry. I don't even need to take. Maybe I can just play h5 and go for my attack. I mean, it's really tough for black. Maybe rook d8 had to be played to kind of get the rook away from there, and you're gonna see in a second line why that move kind of seems to would have needed to be played. But now, I mean, I think I can just take and maybe f4 and then h5, or maybe just h5 directly. This position is probably going to be okay for black, because what black can do is just play g5, say I'm not going to let you open up the h file, I'm just going to give you the g5 pawn, you can take it, but then I with my rook in d8, and this is a typical, I mean, you'd think this is a typical move to play rook d8 on the same file as the queen and have some c5 breakthroughs, but Li Chao didn't play this move. I'm a little bit surprised by this. Even if white plays h5, I think black can just go g5. Like, this is a very typical idea. You don't want to open up the h file. Of course, we have some knight g6 check here, for example, but nobody's going to take in g6 to get mated, just king g8, and you know, your knight doesn't do much there. You can take in e7, but I think this position is totally fine for black. So here, of course, we can take in e6, and here maybe play f4, but we're not opening up anything. Black can just play possibly g4, and the position is closed, and no more attack for white. So very strange that Li Chao didn't choose this approach. He went for the attack, but unfortunately his calculations were not correct for him. So bishop takes a2, and there's nothing. I mean, there's just a pawn that you took here. My king is totally safe. I can just go for the attack. And here g5 would not work because of knight g6 check, and here you see why that rook had to be gone, because now black is losing an exchange, and now also g5. And so after knight g6 check, obviously this does not work because check queen. So for those of you just double checking. So yeah, so g5 is not possible, and Li Chao went king g8, and Magnus takes in g6. Now it's time. Like, this is a type of position where opening up the file, the h file, is very, very important. Sometimes in some of the games that I've shown on my YouTube channel, I was emphasizing on not rushing. But when you have opposite side castling, this norm happens, let's say, I don't know how many percent of the cases, maybe 80-90% of the cases. When there's opposite side castling, you really need to hurry. You cannot wait till you double on the h file and then you're going to take it to your own convenience. No. Now it's time to open up, because now, you know, black might want to play g5 and keep the position close. So you really need to go for it. And now another beautiful move of Magnus's, g4. This is one of my favorite moves. I love this g4, really. So opening up the g file as well. And what to do? Bishop b3 was Li Chao's response. If he takes here, take back. You didn't open the G file, but you did open the F file, so it's not going to help you very much. Also notice that once I move the bishop, my queen is going to be able to come and checkmate you, so it's definitely not simple. And here, such a wonderful move, bishop d1. I mean, I love this move. It seems that I just want to trade your bishop in b3. Well, no, that's not the only thing I want. I also want queen h2 and checkmate there. So a really nice nice approach by Magnus. a4, trying to open up the a file as well. Like I said, white is going on the king side, black queen side. Time to open up. Well, trying. Queen h2, threatening mate. You gotta move your rook. Queen h7, and here another brilliant move of Magnus's. I mean, this game is just so amazing. This king wants to escape, right? e8, d7. So we need to make sure that's not going to happen. So as you can see, he has not hurried to capture in g6. It would be no point to do this because after king e8, it doesn't seem like white has more checks and black can hurry to play a6. So he didn't hurry. This king wants to escape this way. Okay, how can we stop him? By playing e6, but we can't play e6 immediately, so d5 first. And if you don't do anything about it, e6 is going to be my next move. So Li Chao played knight c4. Had he taken here, she takes d5, simply e6. You have no good move for the queen. Knight takes g6 is coming. If he had taken, let's say, with the bishop, his knight is hanging. If he had taken with one of the knights, I don't know which one of them, let's say this one, simply e6 in this position once again. I mean, there's no way for black to actually do something. a3 is another possibility, but you're just losing your bishop. And if you take here, simply king takes b2. Again, no more really good checks for black. And this is my threat, this is my threat, this is my threat. So many threats. Oh, wait. Also, maybe taking there or pushing. I mean, this position went for maybe about equal if black had played rook d8 to totally crushing for white. So, really, really brilliant, brilliant approach by Magnus. Knight c4, knight takes g6 check. And here, of course, we don't allow the exit of the king. Maybe there are other ways of winning, but e6. What to do? I mean, black can't really do anything with the queen. There are no places to go. Queen f6 is not going to help black very much because of check. And when you go bishop f8, let's say, simply rook h8 and mate. So a3 was Li Chao's approach, but okay, he's losing the queen. Knight e5 check. A brilliant, brilliant move just to make sure some more pieces are getting traded so that my king is not going to get mated. Specifically trying to trade that piece. Of course, in this position, bishop takes e5. We don't want to take with the knight to leave with the knight from the control of the b2 square. But there's no worry. After bishop takes e5, Magnus gave check. And here, maybe you won't believe his move. Knight b5 might have been winning too, but he decided to sacrifice the queen back. Queen takes e5, check. There you go. You can take the queen back, but don't worry, I'm taking your bishop. How many? Right now, I have one pawn and one piece up. So, unless you're having some mate, which is not visible, I'm going to win with white. So, he didn't really need the queen alone. Knight here, check, king b1. Knight takes c1. At least I'm going to get two pieces for the rook. Yes, you are, but look at your king, look at my pawn in f7. How are you going to survive all of these threats going on? King c8, he took in c6, and now f4, after which Li Chao resigned. I mean, there's nothing else to do. This pawn is, these two pawns or three pawns are going together to make a queen. The king is just stopping these rooks from being coordinated, and that's it. This was the brilliancy of Magnus Carlsen. I don't know, I think this game was amazing. I really hope you guys think the same. Stay tuned for more. Tomorrow, more tournaments are starting. I believe Hastings has started today or is starting tomorrow. Qatar Masters is finishing tomorrow, so tomorrow is going to be a derby between Magnus Carlsen and Vladimir Kramnik. I'm really looking forward to seeing that game. If Vladimir Kramnik is going to win, he most likely is going to win Qatar Masters. If not, most likely Magnus is going to win it. So it's definitely going to be some fun game to watch. Stay tuned for my analysis tomorrow. Thank you and bye.